Just imagine a stockbroker holding shares instead of a paintbrush, or an inventor standing over a telegraph machine instead of a canvas, or an officer signing off at a customs checkpoint. The career paths of many renowned artists, recognized in the art world, started with completely different professions before they ever achieved the masterpieces we know. These varied backgrounds, from advertising to stonemasonry, from stockbroking to customs officers, provided them not just with money, but also with that unique artistic perspective. So, while Vincent van Gogh tried to become a preacher, what major disappointment drove him towards the brushstrokes of the Starry Night? Or why did Wassily Kandinsky, a law professor, abandon his career in his 30s after seeing a Monet painting? Today, we're using the most accurate sources to examine how famous artists contributed to art history, not only through their talent, but also through the experiences gained during different phases of their lives. Here are the geniuses of art and their first professions. Vincent van Gogh's dream of the priesthood and his journey to art. Vincent van Gogh's life is one of the most striking examples of how the passion for art can shape a person's destiny. In his youth, Vincent van Gogh decided to follow a religious path, studied theology with the dream of becoming a preacher, and worked as a missionary in the Borinage region of Belgium. However, this experience did not go as he expected. The church was unhappy with Van Gogh's unconventional methods and dismissed him. This disappointment deeply affected the artist's inner world, eventually paving the way for him to turn to art. Van Gogh later combined his emotional turmoil with his art, developing a unique language of expression. One of his best-known works, The Starry Night, is a reflection of this inner search and spiritual depth. The intensity of the colors and the energy of the brushstrokes vividly transferred Van Gogh's emotional world onto the canvas. His story stands out among the former professions of famous painters because it represents a transition from a religious journey to an artistic revolt. Wassily Kandinsky's transition from law career to abstract art. Before starting his art career, Wassily Kandinsky was on a successful path in a completely different field, the world of law. After studying law and economics at Moscow University, Kandinsky continued his academic career and was known as a respected law professor of the time. However, at the age of 30, an encounter with a Monet painting at an exhibition radically changed his life. The artist then left his successful legal career behind to start painting, eventually becoming one of the pioneers of abstract art. His art is characterized not only as a visual experience, but also as a spiritual journey. His distinctive quality is his way of expressing emotions using the energy of colors and shapes. Kandinsky's story stands out as an inspiring example among the former professions of famous figures, demonstrating that one's passion can create the courage to start anew, regardless of how rooted their previous background may be. Paul Gauguin's turn from stockbroker to painter. The life of Paul Gauguin is also cited as an example of an extraordinary transformation story. After working as a sailor in his youth, Gauguin settled in Paris and began working as a stockbroker at a finance company. Highly successful in this field and enjoying a comfortable financial life, his passion for art grew stronger every day within him. The artist, who began painting in his free time, quickly saw his interest in art move beyond a mere hobby. Losing his job due to the stock market crash in the mid-1880s became the turning point in his life. This situation allowed Gauguin to dedicate all his time to painting. Furthermore, his voyages to Tahiti became a source of inspiration for his art and helped him develop his unique style. Gauguin's works are today among the most famous artworks worldwide and are considered evidence of his devotion to art. His story is one of the most significant indicators of how a search for meaning beyond financial security can inspire artistic creativity. Leonardo da Vinci, artist or inventor? Leonardo da Vinci stands out as a unique figure at the intersection of art and science. His genius was not limited to painting. He also had profound knowledge in many areas such as engineering, anatomy, botany, architecture, and mechanics. Although the artist began his artistic life by receiving painting instruction in a workshop in Florence during his youth, his technical curiosity eventually prevailed. He conducted anatomical studies, meticulously examining the human body, and designed innovative inventions such as flying machines and underwater apparatuses. This versatility led him to be known as the Renaissance man. In painting, particularly his work, Mona Lisa is recognized worldwide and is considered one of the most iconic works in art history, not only for its artistic mastery but also for the mysterious expression and technical details in its composition. The artist who changed communication, inventor of the Morse code, Samuel Morse, though known today as one of the pioneers of communication technology, began his career as a painter. In his youth, Morse worked as a portrait artist and studied at respected art academies of the time. However, one day, tragic news changed the course of his life. The artist's wife fell gravely ill, but the news reached him too late, and he lost his wife. Consequently, this tragic event led Morse to seek a solution to increase the speed of communication. Thus, he began working on telegraph technology and eventually developed the Morse code, creating a worldwide revolution. This alphabet allowed for fast and reliable communication over long distances. Morse's story demonstrates that an artist's creative vision can lead to major changes not only in art but also in technology. Henry Rousseau's journey from customs officer to post-impressionism. Henry Rousseau was working as a civil servant in Paris before stepping into the art world. While working as a customs officer, his interest in art deepened, and he began painting in his spare time. Since he lacked formal art education, his works were quite different from the traditional understanding of art. This led Rousseau to develop his unique, naive style. Tropical landscapes, exotic animals, and vibrant colors are elements frequently encountered in his paintings. Furthermore, although initially dismissed by critics, his works eventually gained appreciation among Impressionists and avant-garde artists. Rousseau's story is one of the finest examples of how a passion for art and creativity can flourish. Even without academic training, Andy Warhol's transition from advertising to pop art icon. Although Andy Warhol is known as the pioneer of the pop art movement, he started his career in a completely different field, the commercial advertising sector. After studying graphic design, Warhol moved to New York, where he made a name for himself by preparing illustrations for magazines and advertising campaigns. The artist, who was particularly acclaimed for his shoe advertisements, developed a distinct style in this area. Furthermore, his advertising career allowed Warhol to gain a deep understanding of consumer culture. This experience later reflected in his artistic vision, becoming evident in his works where he placed ordinary objects at the center of art. For instance, by turning everyday consumer products like Campbell's soup cans and Coca-Cola bottles into art objects. Warhol also argued that art did not belong to an elite segment, but could be accessible to everyone. Michelangelo's stonemasonry before becoming a sculptor. Although Michelangelo is remembered as one of the greatest artists of the Renaissance, his art journey began in a closely related field, stonemasonry, before sculpting. Starting to work in a stone workshop in Florence in his youth, guided by his family, the artist learned techniques for working with marble there. This experience also improved his command over the material and his attention to detail. In other words, stonemasonry formed the foundation of Michelangelo's genius in sculpture. The artist, who transformed marble blocks almost into living forms, also drew attention with his interest in anatomy. His skillful execution of the perfect anatomical details of the human body in works like David and Peta is one of the most significant examples of this. Furthermore, Michelangelo's technical knowledge from stonemasonry, when combined with aesthetics in his art, enabled him to achieve structural perfection. Auguste Rodin's discovery of his artistic path despite a failed academic career. Auguste Rodin's art career took shape despite an academic past filled with failures. Applying to the École des Beaux-Arts in his youth, Rodin was rejected 3 times. While this shook his confidence, it also led him to pursue a more independent path against the traditional understanding of art. Despite failing to achieve academic success, Rodin did not give up his passion for sculpture, gaining experience by working in various workshops. During this period, he developed a style that challenged classical sculpture norms, emphasizing emotional intensity and a sense of movement in works like The Thinker and The Gates of Hell. Furthermore, Rodin's figures reflect the depths of the human soul, rather than focusing on perfect anatomy. His success demonstrates that acceptance in art is not solely dependent on academic achievement, but that originality and passion are just as crucial as technical knowledge. As you have seen, the biggest names in art history may have started their careers in completely different fields, but those early experiences provided them with a unique depth and technical knowledge that fueled their art. Which career change do you find the most striking?